Hey folks, well, time for another LST2 update. Hopefully you find some interest in these. Haven't worked on it for a little bit, but I have got some stuff done since the last video, and I've also got something to install on it, I guess you could say. Let me show you what I'm working on tonight. Well, there you can see the truck upside down, kind of half apart, where I was at before. But can see the servos installed, and they weren't a drop-in, unfortunately. I didn't realize, but the servos themselves, you can't tell from this, but the servos themselves, the cases are actually bigger by quite a margin, so I had to do some grinding and fitting, and I had to open up the holes where the servo mounts, or the servo mounted, just to get them to fit into the metal chassis. And I also had to clearance these blocks here in order to fit them in, but I got them in with quite a bit of work. So the next step is to mount the servo savers on, which I have hanging here. I showed you previously. They're kind of hanging on the wall there. Mount the servo savers and then hook up the steering linkage. But where the heck's the steering linkage here? I've got the steering linkage here, and because of the size of the servos, sorry about the shadows, let me just adjust the lighting a little bit here. I got some halogen lights that I'm trying to use to make things a little easier to see, because the lighting's not the best. See if that helps any. Move this back. So these bell cranks, once I got started putting this all back together, found that the steering was binding up. May or may not be able to show you. Let's see, this is the left side, so this is the right side. So what happens is these bell cranks sit in here, like so, and they spin. But I don't know if you can see, there's clearance. There's a clearance issue. The servo the bell crank ends up hitting the servo, and it had everything out to lunch. So I'm going to have to take the Dremel and clearance this, which I'm a little worried it's going to weaken the bell cranks. But if that's the case, I'm going to have to find some aluminum bell cranks. Hopefully it won't weaken them too much, or maybe I can shore them up some way. But it's one thing I got to do is clearance both sides to clear these servos. They're turning into a real headache, but that's all part of the game. The other thing I got to do is, even though I put all this together, I said I wasn't going to buy them. Let me just get this out of the way so you can see. I'll move that over on my lathe there. I ordered up this kit from Hex Pack. These hex packs from Hexcrews. This is the largest size kit, the number 6, right there. And these are the plated ones. But I actually screwed up when I ordered 2 sets of them, so I just consolidated both sets into one bin. And you can see from the color, these are plated, so they were the most expensive ones. But figure it's worth it to prevent the rust and add to the strength. So thing is, these are all metric, the metric set, and as most of you probably know, the LST is mostly standard hardware, because that's when the LOSI stuff was still made mostly in the States. It's funny, most of it's standard, but the diff stuff is metric. But in any case, the plan is to use this set to replace a lot of these 440 screws that go into plastic, because like I mentioned previously, I don't like the size of the heads on the 440s, the standard stuff compared to metric. And I was also hoping I'd get long enough 4mm screws to replace these, but set, let me see if I can show you what's in there. The set doesn't, even though it has 4mm stuff, it doesn't have long enough ones. think, if I'm not mistaken, these guys, being they're not only the wrong head, they're too short. Actually, no, my mistake. This set says it has 4x. It's hard to, I don't know if you can see, there you go. It says sizes it shows. It shows 4x15, but I don't see any 4x15s in there. And these, well, I guess so, because this shows the largest size is 4x25, and 4x25 won't cut it. They'll work good for, I can use some for these bulkhead screws, replace those in any case, because that's one thing that people replace, but have to find something different for the shocks. So, oh well, that's the way she goes. No big deal. I'll show you, you can actually see the size difference between the 3 mils. Here they are. Hopefully you can see the difference in the 3 mils and the 4 mil sizes. If I hold, get down close enough and hold this up, it's kind of hard to see because of the black, but you can see the difference in hex head size. So it's my plan for tonight is go through and replace a bunch of these. I'll do that right now and show you when I'm done. Well, I'm partly through putting some of the screws in. You can see by the color I've got a few of these done. These ones up here done. Decided to only do the screws that are going to be in and out a lot, being the ones that are like for structural support and in order to tear the things down, so I won't bother with like these screws that hold the battery tray in, that sort of thing. These screws hold the brace in, so I'd have to tap that out, and I don't want to do that. But I wanted to show you something before I continue. The difference between, oops, sorry, there's the cap head screw. Kind of set it there, and here's the 3 millimeter one. Hold it up against the wall. Maybe you can see in the video, maybe not, but you can see how much bigger that head is. So that's going to help out an awful lot for holding power, because there's a lot more surface area there. So that'll work out pretty good. So I may, instead of worrying about, sorry about the light, but I think these might be 540, not 440, but I'm thinking even upgrading them to, I'll show you the front here, upgrading them to a 3 mil one of these. It's still a little bit bigger, so probably still add some strength anyway. So if you look at the difference in the thread size, you can see how the 3 mil is a little bit bigger than the 440 as well, and the fine pitch also helps with holding power in the plastic. It doesn't chew up the threads as much, or the plastic as much. They just hold a lot better. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to swap out these screws here that are in the holes, and these ones up here, and then do some on the underside as well. Well, I'm all done changing screws out for the night. Got quite a few done. I'll show you what I did and a couple of things I ran into while I was doing it. There you can see the pile of screws that I swapped out. Not too bad. Most of the chassis and the bulkheads, like I showed previously, got all these done. Here, these ones as well, and same with the back side. Now, one thing I ran into was these counter bores for the heads obviously were too small, because the heads on these are quite a bit smaller than the 3 mil, so I ended up having to carefully open those up to allow the heads to go in. And in lieu of not having long enough 4 mil bolts, I still put 3 mil ones in, because I'm sure this hardware is a better grade bolt. And I also put because it's a slightly bigger screw, I put a bigger washer on the bottom, which should help spread the load. And I'm confident that these bolts will hold up to the abuse. Same thing on the bottom side. I replaced these. I made a big difference. The heads are quite a bit bigger. Hold the transmission in. It's not ever a problem, but it's just nice to have that extra reassurance. And then these skid plates. This skid plate, sorry. When I put the other ones on, obviously, I'll swap those screws out too. So, like I say, I'm going to head in the house now and maybe continue on this tomorrow night. Maybe I can get those bulkheads, or sorry, the steering clearance then all back in, and I can get it for the most part buttoned up. Until next time, talk to you later.